others, we may automatically pretend we hold attitudes consistent with our behaviors. Leary et al. 2015. Tyler, 2012. Even a little insincerity or hypocrisy can pay off in managing the impression we are making. A euro or so self-presentation theory suggests. Jack Ziegler. All rights reserved. Used with permission. Does our feigning consistency explain why expressed attitudes shift toward consistency with behavior? To some extent, yes. People exhibit a much smaller attitude change when a fake lie detector discourages them from trying to make a good impression. Paul Huss. 1982. Tedeschi et al. 1987. Page 94. But there is more to attitudes than self-presentation, for people express their changed attitudes even to someone who has no knowledge of their earlier behavior. Two other theories explain why people sometimes internalize their self-presentations as genuine attitude changes. Self-justification, cognitive dissonance. Self-justification, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance tension that arises when one is simultaneously aware of two inconsistent cognitions. For example, dissonance may occur when we realize that we have, with little justification, acted contrary to our attitudes or made a decision favoring one alternative despite reasons favoring another. One theory is that our attitudes change because we are motivated to maintain consistency among our thoughts, known as cognitions. That is the implication of Leon Festingray Euro trademark S. 1957, famous cognitive dissonance theory. The theory is simple, but its range of application is enormous, making a Euro-cognitive dissonance a Euro part of the vocabulary of today. A Euro trademark S educated people. It assumes that we feel tension, or a Euro-e dissonance, a Euro when two of our thoughts or beliefs, a Euro-recognition sa Euro, are inconsistent. Festinger argued that to reduce this unpleasant arousal caused by inconsistency, we often adjust our thinking. This simple idea, and some surprising predictions derived from it, have spawned more than 2,000 studies. Cooper, 1999. One inspiration for the theory was a participant observation study by Festinger and his colleagues, 1956. A Euro study that an Association for Psychological Science president declared as his all-time favorite psychological study, met in 2011. Festinger and his collaborators read a news report of a UFO cult expecting to be rescued by flying saucers from a cataclysmic flood anticipated on December 21, 1954. The researchers saw Euro trademark response. They joined the cult and observed what happened next. As December 21st approached, the most devoted followers quit their jobs and disposed of their possessions, with some even leaving their spouses. So what happened a Euro or E when prophecy fails a Euro? When December 21st passed uneventfully, the group coped with its massive dissonance not by abandoning their beliefs but with increased fervor for them. Their faithfulness had, they decided, persuaded God to spare the world a Euro, a message they now proclaim boldly. In modern experiments, too, people whose confident beliefs are shaken will often respond by seeking to persuade others. A Euro or E when in doubt, shout. A Euro, concluded the researchers, Gall and Rucker, 2010. Selective exposure, the tendency to seek information and media that agree with only Euro trademark S views and to avoid dissonant information. Another way people minimize dissonance, Festinger believed, is through selective exposure to agreeable information. Studies have asked people about their views on various topics and then invited them to choose whether they wanted to view information supporting or opposing their viewpoint. Twice as many preferred supporting rather than challenging information. Fisher and Griedemeyer, 2010, Hart et al., 2009, Sweeney et al., 2010. We prefer news that affirms us over news that informs us. People are especially keen on reading information that supports their political, religious, and ethical views, a phenomenon that most of us can recognize from our own favorite news and blog sources. Moreover, people who have strong views on some topic, for instance, gun control, climate change, or economic policy, are prone to or identity protective cognition, Catman et al., 2011, 2014, Landrum et al., 2017. To minimize dissonance, their beliefs steer their reasoning and their evaluation of data. Shown the same data about human-caused climate change, people will read it differently depending on their pre-existing views. On more practical and less values-relevant topics, or accuracy motivis drive us. Thus, we welcome a home inspection before buying or a second opinion before surgery. Selective exposure. Many people choose to read news and opinion articles from sources that favor their political viewpoint, while avoiding sources that oppose it. Mark Romanelli/Blend Images LLC. Sometimes, we simply choose to ignore or not focus on uncomfortable information. For example, many people who eat meat dislike the harm to animals it involves. To resolve this, many try to disassociate meat from its animal origins. Benningstat and Kunst, 2020, Rothgerber, 2020. This might explain the popularity of hamburgers, chicken nuggets, and other meat-based foods that don't trademark T explicitly resemble the animals they came from. Page 95. Dissonance theory pertains mostly to discrepancies between behavior and attitudes. We are aware of both. Thus, if we sense an inconsistency, perhaps some hypocrisy, we feel pressure for change. That helps explain why cigarette smokers are much more likely than non-smokers to doubt that smoking is dangerous. Eiser et al., 1979, Sod, 2002. They find it difficult to change their behavior, smoking, so they instead cling to their attitude. Smoking is not trademark T dangerous. This can also be flipped around. Get someone to change their attitude by making a public statement, and they may change their behavior. Someone asked to make a video advocating exercise, attitude, will be more likely to exercise, behavior. Priolo et al., 2019. Cognitive dissonance theory also offers several surprising predictions. See if you can anticipate them. Insufficient justification. Imagine you are a participant in a famous experiment staged by the creative Festinger and his student J. Merrill Carlsmith, 1959. For an hour, you are required to perform dull tasks, such as turning wooden knobs again and again. After you finish, the experimenter, Carl Smith, explains that the study concerns how expectations affect performance. The next participant, waiting outside, must be led to expect an interesting experiment. The seemingly upset experimenter, whom Festinger had spent hours coaching until he became extremely convincing, explains that the assistant who usually creates this expectation could not trademark T make this session. Wringing his hands, he pleads, could you fill in and do this? Eat a trademark S for science and you are being paid, so you agree to tell the next participant, who is actually the experimenter trademark S accomplice, what a delightful experience you have just had. Eerily. Responds the supposed participant. A friend of mine was in this experiment a week ago, and she said it was boring. No, €. You respond, €, or the Euro trademark is really very interesting. You get good exercise while turning some knobs. I a Euro trademark am sure you are Euro trademark LL enjoy it a Euro finally. You complete a questionnaire that asks how much you actually enjoyed your knob turning experience. Insufficient justification reduction of dissonance by internally justifying only Euro trademark S behavior when external justification is a Euro or insufficient. Insufficient. A Euro now for the prediction. Under which condition are you most likely to believe your little lie and say that the dull experiment was indeed interesting? When paid $1 for pipping, as some of the participants were. Or when paid a then lavish $20, as others were. Contrary to the common notion that big rewards produce big effects, Festinger and Carl Smith made an outrageous prediction: those paid just $1, hardly sufficient justification for a lie, would be most likely to adjust their attitudes to their actions. Having insufficient justification for their actions, they would experience more discomfort, dissonance, and thus be more motivated to believe in what they had done. Those paid $20 had sufficient justification for what they had done, so much money, and hence should have experienced less dissonance. As Figure 4 shows, the results confirmed this intriguing prediction a as have replication experiments across several age groups. Cooper and Feldman, 2019. Figure 4 insufficient justification dissonance theory predicts that when our actions are not fully explained by external rewards or coercion, we will experience dissonance, which we can reduce by believing in what we have done. Source: data from Festinger and Carl Smith, 1959. In dozens of later experiments, this attitudes follow behavior effect was strongest when people felt some choice and when their actions had foreseeable consequences. One experiment had people read disparaging lawyer jokes into a recorder. For example, €, how can you tell when a lawyer is lying? His lips are moving €. The reading produced more negative attitudes toward lawyers when it was a chosen rather than a coerced activity. Hobden and Olson, 1994. Other experiments have engaged people to write essays for a measly $1.50 or so. When the essay argues something they don't a trademark believe in €, for instance, support for a tuition increase €, the underpaid writers begin to feel somewhat greater sympathy with the policy. Pretense becomes reality. The insufficient justification principle also works with punishments. Children were more likely to internalize a request not to play with an attractive toy if they were given a mild threat that insufficiently justified their compliance. When a parent says, €, or clean up your room, Joshua, or I a trademark LL take all of your toys away, €, Joshua 1 a trademark need to internally justify cleaning his room. The severe threat is justification enough. Page 96. But if a milder threat is used, that might lead Joshua to think, €, I am cleaning up my room because I want a clean room, €, rather than, €, I am cleaning up my room because my parents will take away all my toys if I don't a trademark €. The principle is this: attitudes follow behaviors for which we feel some responsibility. Authoritarian management will be effective, the theory predicts, only when the authority is present a because people are unlikely to internalize forced behavior. S.C. S. Lewis, 1974, said of Brie, a formerly enslaved talking horse in The Horse and His Boy, one of the worst results of being a slave and being forced to do things is that when there is no one to force you anymore, you find you have almost lost the power of forcing yourself a p. 193. Dissonance theory insists that encouragement and inducement should be enough to elicit the desired action, so that attitudes may follow the behavior. But it suggests that managers, teachers, and parents should use only enough incentive to elicit the desired behavior. Dissonance after decisions. The emphasis on perceived choice and responsibility implies that decisions produce dissonance. When faced with an important decision euro what college to attend, whom to date, which job to accept euro we are sometimes torn between two equally attractive alternatives. Perhaps you can recall a time when, having committed yourself, you became painfully aware of dissonant cognitions euro the desirable features of what you had rejected and the undesirable features of what you had chosen. If you decided to live on campus, you may have realized you were giving up the spaciousness and freedom of an apartment in favor of cramped, noisy dorm quarters. If you elected to live off campus, you may have realized that your decision meant physical separation from campus and friends, and having to cook and clean for yourself. Cognitive dissonance theory focuses on what induces a desired action. Research suggests that parents use euro or enough euro incentive to elicit desired behavior. Prostock Studio / Shutterstock. After making important decisions, you can reduce dissonance by upgrading the chosen alternative and downgrading the unchosen option. In the first published dissonance experiment, 1956, Jack Bram brought some of his wedding gifts to his University of Minnesota lab and had women rate 8 products, such as a toaster, a radio, and a hair dryer. Bram then showed the women 2 objects they had rated similarly and told them they could have whichever they chose. Later, when re-rating the 8 objects, the women increased their evaluations of the item they had chosen and decreased their evaluations of the rejected item. It seems that after we have made our choices, the grass does not then grow greener on the other side of the fence. Afterward, Bram confessed he couldn't euro trademark afford to let them keep what they chose. Page 97. With simple decisions, this deciding becomes believing. Effect can breed overconfidence. Blanton et al. 2001 euro or what euro trademark he decided must be right euro. The effect can occur very quickly. Robert Knox and James Inkster, 1968, found that racetrack bettors who had just put down their money felt more optimistic about their bets than did those who were about to bet. In the few moments that intervened between standing in line and walking away from the betting window, nothing had changed euro except the decisive action and the persona euro trademark's feelings about it. Our preferences influence our decisions, which then sharpen our preferences. This choices influence preferences effect occurs even after people press a button to choose what they think was a subliminally presented vacation alternative. Nothing was actually shown them. They later tended to prefer the holiday that they believed they had chosen. Charo et al. 2010, 2012. Moreover, once people chose a holiday destination, they preferred it up to 3 years later. Big decisions can produce big dissonance when one later ponders the negative aspects of what is chosen and the positive aspects of what was not chosen. Think stock/stockbite/Getty Images euro or every time you make a choice you are turning the central part of you, the part of you that chooses, into something a little different from what it was before euro C. S. Lewis, Mere Christianity, 1942. Decisions, once made, grow their own self-justifying legs of support. Often, these new legs are strong enough that when one leg is pulled away the decision does not collapse. Rosalia decides to take a trip home if it can be done for a airfare under $500. It can, and she begins to think of additional reasons why she will be glad to see her family. When she goes to buy the tickets, however, she learns there has been a fare increase to $575. No matter, she is now determined to go. It rarely occurs to people, reported Robert Cialdini, 1984, p. 103, euro or that those additional reasons might never have existed had the choice not been made in the first place. Euro self-perception. Although dissonance theory has inspired much research, an even simpler theory also explains its phenomenon. Consider how we make inferences about other people. Euro trademark's attitudes. We see how a person acts in a particular situation, and then we attribute the behavior either to the persona Euro trademark S traits and attitudes or to environmental forces. If we see parents coercing 10-year-old Jaden into saying, "A Euro OEI a Euro trademark I'm sorry, a Euro," we attribute Jaden a Euro trademark S apology to the situation, not to his personal regret. If we see Jaden apologizing with no coercion, we attribute the apology to Jaden himself. Figure 5. Self-perception theory: the theory that when we are unsure of our attitudes, we infer them much as would someone observing us a Euro by looking at our behavior and the circumstances under which it occurs. Figure 5. 3 theories explain why attitudes follow behavior. Anton.Senko/123 RF self-perception theory, proposed by Daryl Bain, 1972, assumes that we make similar inferences when we observe our own behavior. When our attitudes are weak or ambiguous, either Euro trademark S similar to someone observing us from the outside. Hearing myself talk informs me of my attitudes. Seeing my actions provides clues to how strong my beliefs are. If we observe ourselves acting as a leader, we begin to think of ourselves as leaders. Misenko et al., 2017. When we buy organic food, we begin to think of ourselves as people who believe organic food is healthy. Kokla et al., 2019. When we post selfies on social media, we begin to think of ourselves as someone who needs to diet. Neil et al., 2020. This is especially so when we can a Euro trademark T easily attribute our behavior to external constraints. The acts we freely commit are self-revealing. How much our behavior guides our self-perceptions was cleverly demonstrated by researchers at Sweden at Euro trademark S. Lund University, Lind et al., 2014. They wondered, what would we experience if we said one thing but heard ourselves saying something else? Would we believe our ears? Through a headset, people heard themselves name various font colors such as a Euro or a gray Euro when shown the word a Euro or a green a Euro in a gray color. But sometimes, the prankster researchers substituted the participant a Euro trademark S own voice saying a previously recorded word, such as a Euro or a green. A Euro. Remarkably, 2/3 of the word switches went undetected. People experienced the inserted word as self-produced. A Euro easel knowledge is best learned, not by contemplation, but action. A Euro Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, 1749 a Euro 1832. A Euro OE I can watch myself and my actions, just like an outsider. A Euro and Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, 1947 page 98. Behavior also guides self-perceptions of our emotions. Are we anxious because we tremble, or do we tremble because we are anxious? At a college where I am to give a lecture, I awake before dawn and am unable to get back to sleep. Noting my wakefulness, I conclude that I must be anxious. One friend of mine was shaking while standing off stage waiting to give a lecture and inferred he was really nervous. When he discovered the floor over the air handling system was vibrating, his self-perceived nervousness vanished. Expressions. An attitude: you may be skeptical of the self-perception effect, as IDM initially was. Experiments on the effects of facial expression suggest a way for you to experience it. When James Laird, 1974-1984, induced college students to frown while attaching electrodes to their faces. A Euro contract these muscles. A Euro pull your brows together. A Euro. They reported feeling angry. Even Euro trademark S more fun to try. Laird a Euro trademark S other finding. Those induced to make a smiling face felt happier and found cartoons more humorous. Those induced to repeatedly practice happy versus sad or angry expressions may recall more happy memories and find a happy mood lingering. Schnall and Laird, 2003. Or try this: put a pen in your mouth and hold it with your teeth. Your mouth will automatically form a smile. Then try holding it with your lips, which actually prevents you from smiling. Participants who held a pen with their teeth found a set of cartoons funnier than those who held it with their lips. €, as long as they were in a Euro trademark T being video. Coles ETAL 2019. Marsh ETAL 2019. Note ETAL 2018. Strack ETAL 1988. Even a forced smile created mirth. Facial feedback effect: the tendency of facial expressions to trigger corresponding feelings such as fear, anger, or happiness. Clever follow-up studies have found more examples of this facial and body feedback effect. Botox smooths emotional wrinkles. If ETA Euro trademark S. Hard for us to know what the frozen-faced Botox are feeling. ETA Euro trademark S. Also hard for them to know themselves. Paralyzing the frowning muscles with Botox slows activity in PPA Euro trademark S. Emotion-related brain circuits and slows their reading of sadness or anger-related sentences. Havas ETAL 2010. Henenlotter ETAL 2008. Botoxing the frowning muscles decreases psychiatric patients a Euro trademark depressive symptoms. Wilmer ETAL 2012. Botox messes with embodied cognition. When people are instructed to sit straight and push out their chest, they feel more confident in their written ideas than when sitting slouched forward and with eyes downcast. Bria plus or minus OLETAL 2009. Even word articulation movements come tinged with emotion. In a series of experiments, both German and English-speaking people preferred nonsense words and names spoken with inward, swallowing-like, mouth movements. For example, Euro e Venica, Euro rather than outward, spinning-like, motions, such as Euro Econoba Euro, Topolinsky ETAL, 2014. Air Nippon Airways employees, biting wooden chopsticks, being during a smile training session. Researchers report that people who use chopsticks to activate smiling muscles recover more quickly from stressful experiences. Kraft and Pressman, 2012. Kyoto News International, Inc. Page 99. We have all experienced this phenomenon. We Euro trademark refeeling crabby. But then we get a phone call or someone comes to the door and elicits from us warm, polite behavior. Euro how a Euro trademark S everything? Euro just fine, thanks. How are things with you? Euro not bad. Euro as long as our crabbiness was not intense, our chipper behavior may change our attitude. Putting on a happy face perks us up. ETA Euro trademark S. Tough to smile and feel grouchy. Motions trigger emotions. If our expressions influence our feelings, would imitating others' Euro trademark expressions help us know what they are feeling? An experiment by Catherine Burns-Vaughan and John Lanzetta, 1981, suggests it would. They asked Dartmouth College students to observe someone receiving a supposed electric shock. They told some of the observers to make a pained expression whenever the shock came on. If, as Freud and others supposed, expressing an emotion allows us to discharge it, then the pained expression should be inwardly calming. Cacciapo ETAL, 1991. However, compared with other students who did not act out the expressions, these grimacing students perspired more and had faster heart rates whenever they saw the shock being delivered. Acting out the persona Euro trademark S emotion enabled the observers to feel more empathy. So, to sense how other people are feeling, let your own face and body mirror their expressions. Actually, you hardly need to try. Observing others' Euro trademark faces, postures, writing styles, and voices, we naturally and unconsciously mimic them. Hatfield ETAL, 1992. Ireland and Pennybaker, 2010. We synchronize our movements, postures, and tones of voice with theirs. Doing so helps us tune into what the Euro trademark refeeling, superscript 3 Bell and Invert, 2019. It also makes for a Euro early which helps. Explain why EVA euro trademark S fun to be around happy people and depressing to be around depressed people. A euro whether in person or online. Rosenpusch et al. 2019. A euro word at free expression by outward signs of emotion intensifies it. On the other hand, the repression, as far as possible, of all outward signs softens our emotions. A euro Charles Darwin, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals, 1897. Our nonverbal behaviors also influence our attitudes. In a clever experiment, Gary Wells and Richard Petty, 1980, had University of Alberta students edit headphone sets by making either vertical or horizontal head movements while listening to a radio opinion piece. The students who made vertical head movements who were nodding, a nonverbal signal of agreement, were most likely to later say they agreed with the opinion piece. Try it yourself when listening to someone. Do you feel more agreeable when nodding, non-verbally saying I say euro, rather than shaking your head, non-verbally saying euro? Even being seated in a left rather than right-leaning chair has led people to lean more left in their expressed political attitudes. Oppenheimer and Trail, 2010. Overjustification and intrinsic motivations. Imagine being a parent who wants your child to enjoy reading. What if you paid $10 for every book your child read? Would she then learn to love reading? Overjustification affect the result of bribing people to do what they already like doing. They may then see their actions as externally controlled rather than intrinsically appealing. Page 100. Maybe not. The incentive might get the child to read more, but it may also lead her to think euro trademark S reading only to get the money and not because she enjoys the activity. Rewarding people for doing what they already enjoy may lead them to attribute their action to the reward. If so, this would undermine their self-perception that they do it because they like it. Thus, the extrinsic, or external, motivation of the reward can interfere with the intrinsic, or internal, motivation of true enjoyment in the activity. Experiments have confirmed this overjustification. Overjustification effect, Deci and Ryan, 1991, 2012, Lepper and Green, 1979. Pay people for playing with puzzles, and they will later play with the puzzles less than those who played for no pay. Promise children a reward for doing what they intrinsically enjoy. For example, playing with markers, and you will turn their play into work. Figure 6. Give even very young children, 20 months old, a reward for helping, and they will be less likely to help later. Warnigan and Tomasello, 2015. Figure 6. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. When people do something they enjoy, without reward or coercion, they attribute their behavior to their love of the activity. External rewards undermine intrinsic motivation by leading people to attribute their behavior to the incentive. Situations outside the lab show the overjustification effect as well. My DMA euro trademark S. Younger son eagerly consumed 6 or 8 library books a week until our library started a reading club that promised a party to those who read 10 books in 3 months. He then began checking out only 1 or 2 books during our weekly visits. What? Because you only need to read 10 books. You know college athletes who received scholarships, compared with those who didn't. Trademark T, were less likely to say they still enjoyed the sport they played in college, even decades later. Mahler and Sheldon, 2020. The overjustification effect occurs when someone offers an unnecessary reward beforehand in an obvious effort to control behavior. Rewards that seek to control people and lead them to believe it was the reward that caused their effort. I did it for the money. Diminished the intrinsic appeal of an enjoyable task. Rosenfeld et al. 1980, Sansom, 1986. However, rewards and praise that inform people of their achievements that make them feel trademark. I'm very good at fees a boost intrinsic motivation. In addition, an unanticipated reward does not diminish intrinsic interest because people can still attribute their actions to their own motivation. Bradley and Mantle, 1984, 10 and Hall, 1995. Many life tasks combine intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. A nurse takes satisfaction in caring for patients and gets paid. A student learns and gets a good grade. Ironically, Amy Wisniewski, Barry Schwartz, and their colleagues, 2014 A.B., report that helping people focus on the intrinsic meaning of their work boosts both their work quality and their vocational and financial success. Both extrinsic outcomes. Self-perception at work. Ed Fraschino. All rights reserved. Used with permission. However, not all tasks are initially appealing and thus might need some extrinsic incentives, at least at first. Maria may find her first piano lessons frustrating. Tosi may not have an intrinsic love of ninth grade science. Deshaun may not look forward to making his first sales calls. In such cases, the parent, the teacher, or the manager should probably use some small extrinsic incentives to coax the desired behavior. Bajano and Rubel, 1985, Cook et al., 2011. Workman and Williams, 1980. After the person complies, give them an intrinsic reason for continuing their work. OEI trademark. Am not surprised that sales call went well because you are so good at making a first impression. Page 101. If we provide students with just enough justification to perform a learning task and use rewards and labels to help them feel confident, we may enhance their enjoyment and their eagerness to pursue the subject on their own. When there is too much justification, as happens in classrooms where teachers dictate behavior and use rewards to control the children, student-driven learning may diminish. Deci and Ryan, 1985, 1991, 2008. Comparing the theories, we have seen one explanation of why our actions might only seem to affect our attitudes, self-presentation theory. And we have seen two explanations of why our actions genuinely affect our attitudes. 1. The dissonance theory assumption that we justify our behavior to reduce our internal discomfort. And 2. The self-perception theory assumption that we observe our behavior and make reasonable inferences about our attitudes, much as we observe other people and infer their attitudes. These two explanations seem to contradict each other. Which is right? Trademark is difficult to find a definitive test. In most instances, they make the same predictions, and we can bend each theory to accommodate most of the findings we have considered. Greenwald, 1975. Self-perception theorist Darrell Bain, 1972, even suggested it boils down to personal loyalties and preferences. This illustrates the human element in scientific theorizing. Neither dissonance theory nor self-perception. Self-perception theory has been handed to us by nature. Both are products of human imagination. Creative attempts to simplify and explain what we trademark VE observed. It is not unusual in science to find that a principle, such as or attitudes follow behavior, is predictable from more than one theory. Physicist Richard Feynman, 1967, marveled that or eon of the amazing characteristics of nature. Is the a wide range of beautiful ways in which we can describe it. I do not understand the reason why it is that the correct laws of physics seem to be expressible in such a tremendous variety of ways. pp. 53 55. Like different roads leading to the same place, different sets of assumptions can lead to the same principle. If anything, this strengthens our confidence in the principle. It becomes credible not only because of the data supporting it but also because it rests on more than one theoretical pillar. Dissonance as arousal. Can we say that one of the theories is better? Dissonance theory wins out on one count. Having attitudes and behavior disagree does seem to produce arousal especially if the behavior has unwanted consequences for which the person feels responsible. Cooper, 1999. Elliott and Devine, 1994. If, in the privacy of your room, you say something you don't trademark T believe, your dissonance will be minimal. It will be much greater if there are unpleasant results, if someone hears and believes you, if the statement causes harm and the negative effects are irrevocable, and if the person harmed is someone you like. If, moreover, you feel responsible for those consequences if you can trademark T easily excuse your act because you freely agreed to it, and if you were able to foresee its consequences then uncomfortable dissonance will be aroused. Such dissonance-related arousal is detectable as increased perspiration and heart rate. Cacioppo and Petty, 1986, Crowell and Cooper, 1983, Loss and Cacioppo, 1990. Self-affirmation theory. A theory that a. People often experience a self-image threat after engaging in an undesirable behavior, and b. They can compensate by affirming another aspect of the self. Threatened people trademark as self-concept in one domain, and they will compensate either by refocusing or by doing good deeds in some other domain. Why is a volunteering to say or do undesirable things so arousing? Because, as the self-affirmation theory suggests, such acts are embarrassing. Steele, 1988. They make us feel foolish. They threaten our sense of personal competence and goodness. Justifying our actions and decisions is therefore self-affirming. It protects and supports our sense of integrity and self-worth. When people engage in dissonance-generating actions, their thinking left frontal lobes buzz with extra arousal. Harmon Jones et al. 2008. This is the grinding gears of belief change at work. Page 102. What do you suppose happens, then, if we offer people who have committed self-contradictory acts a way to reaffirm their self-worth, such as doing good deeds? In several experiments, people whose self-concepts were restored felt much less need to justify their acts. Steele et al., 1993. People with high and secure self-esteem also engage in less self-justification. Holland et al., 2002. So, dissonance conditions do indeed arouse tension, especially when they threaten positive feelings of self-worth. But is this arousal necessary for the attitudes follow behavior effect? Steele and his colleagues, 1981, believe the answer is yes. In one of their experiments, they induced the University of Washington students to write essays favoring a big tuition increase. The students reduced their resulting dissonance by softening their anti-tuition attitudes unless after writing the unpleasant essays they drank alcohol. Apparently, drinking relaxed them enough to eliminate the arousal of dissonance. After doing something undesirable or embarrassing, people can reaffirm their self-image by doing a good deed. Ariel Skelly / blend images self-perceiving. Self-perceiving when not self-contradicting amazingly, 40 years after its publication, the theory of cognitive dissonance looks as strong and as interesting as ever. Social psychologist Jack W. Brehm, 1999. Dissonance is uncomfortably arousing. That leads to self-persuasion after acting contrary to only trademark S attitudes. But dissonance theory cannot explain the attitude changes that occur without dissonance. When people argue a position that is in line with their opinion, although a step or two beyond it, they don't trademark T experience dissonance arousal yet still adjust their attitudes toward what the trademark VE expressed. Fazio et al., 1977, 1979. Dissonance theory also does not explain the over-justification effect because being paid to do what you like to do should not arouse great tension. And what about situations in which the action does not contradict any attitude when, for example, people are induced to smile or grimace? Here, too, there should be no dissonance. For these cases, self-perception theory has a ready explanation. In short, dissonance theory successfully explains what happens when we act contrary to clearly defined attitudes. We feel tension, so we adjust our attitudes to reduce it. Dissonance theory, then, explains attitude change. In situations in which our attitudes are not well formed, self-perception theory explains attitude formation. As we act and reflect, we develop more readily accessible attitudes to guide our future behavior. Fazio, 1987, Roast and Olson, 1994. Summing up, why does our behavior affect our attitudes? 3 different theories explain why our actions affect our attitude reports. Self-presentation theory assumes that people, especially those who self-monitor their behavior hoping to create good impressions, will adapt their attitude reports to appear consistent with their actions. The available evidence confirms that people do adjust their attitude statements out of concern for what other people will think. But it also shows that some genuine attitude change occurs. 2 of these theories propose that our actions trigger genuine attitude change. Dissonance theory explains this attitude change by assuming that we feel tension. Tension after acting contrary to our attitudes or making difficult decisions. To reduce that arousal, we internally justify our behavior. Dissonance theory further proposes that the less external justification we have for our undesirable actions, the more we feel responsible for them, and thus the more dissonance arises and the more attitudes change to come into line with our actions. Self-perception theory assumes that when our attitudes are weak, we simply observe our behavior and its circumstances, then infer our attitudes. One interesting implication of self-perception theory is the a euro or e over justification effect. A euro, rewarding people to do what they like doing anyway, can turn their pleasure into drudgery if the reward leads them to attribute their behavior to the reward. Evidence supports predictions from both theories, suggesting that each describes what happens under certain conditions. Concluding thoughts: changing ourselves through action to make anything a habit, do it. Do not make it a habit, do not do it. To unmake a habit, do something else in place of it. A Euro Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus, page 103. This chapter, A Euro Trademark S Attitudes Follow Behavior Principle, offers a powerful lesson for life. If we want to change ourselves in some important way, eat a Euro Trademark S. Best not to wait for insight or inspiration. Sometimes we need to act a Euro to begin to write that paper, to make those phone calls, to see that person a Euro, even if we don't a Euro Trademark T feel like acting. Jacques Barzun, 1975. Recognized the energizing power of action when he advised aspiring writers to engage in the act of writing even if contemplation had left them feeling uncertain about their ideas. If you are too modest about yourself or too plain indifferent about the possible reader and yet are required to write, then you have to pretend. Make believe that you want to bring somebody around to your opinion. In other words, adopt a thesis and start expounding it. With a slight effort of the kind at the start, a Euro, a challenge to utterance, a Euro, you will find your pretense disappearing and a real concern creeping in. The subject will have taken hold of you as it does in the work of all habitual writers. pp. 173. A Euro 174. A Euro, or if we wish to conquer undesirable emotional tendencies in ourselves, we must cold-bloodedly go through the outward motions of those contrary dispositions we prefer to cultivate. A Euro, William James. A Euro, Ernie, what is an emotion? A Euro 1884. This attitudes follow behavior. Attitudes follow behavior phenomenon is not irrational or magical. That which prompts us to act may also prompt us to think. Writing an essay or role-playing an opposing view forces us to consider arguments we otherwise might have ignored. Also, we remember the information best after explaining it in our own terms. As one student wrote me DM, a euro where I wasn't a euro trademark T until I tried to verbalize my beliefs that I really understood them. A euro as a teacher and a writer, I must therefore remind myself to not always lay out finished results. It is better to stimulate students to think through the implications of a theory, to make them active listeners and readers. Even taking notes deepens the impression. William James, 1899, made the point a century ago, a euro no reception without reaction, no impression without correlative expression. A euro this is the great maxim which the teacher ought never to forget. A euro asterisk there is a seldom reported final aspect of this 1950s experiment. Imagine yourself finally back with the experimenter, who is truthfully explaining the whole study. Not only do you learn that you are euro trademark be duped, but also the experimenter asks for the $20 back. Do you comply? Festinger and Carl Smith note that all their student participants willingly reached into their pockets and gave back the money. This is a foretaste of some quite amazing observations on compliance and conformity. As we will see, when the social situation makes clear demands, people usually respond accordingly. Page 104, Part 2, Social Influence. Page 104, Chapter 5, Genes, Culture, and Gender. Hattie /E+/Getty Images. A euro e by birth, the same, by custom, different. A euro. How are we influenced by biology? How are we influenced by culture? How are females and males alike and different? What can we conclude about genes, culture, and gender? Concluding thoughts. Should we view ourselves as products of our biology or our culture? The preceding chapters were about how we think about one another. The next chapters are about how we influence and relate to one another. We will probe social psychology. A euro trademark S central concern, the powers of social influence. What are these unseen social forces that push and pull us? How powerful are they? Research on social influence helps illuminate the invisible strings by which our social worlds move us about. In this chapter, we consider three related topics: biological influences, cultural influences, and gender differences. For most of human history, fighting wars was the sole province of men. But as cultures have become more open to gender equality, that has changed. The speed of change has also varied from one culture to another. While women in some countries such as Israel have served in combat roles since the 1970s, other countries, such as Pakistan, do not allow women to serve in combat roles today. Army Technology, 2018, Newman, 2013. Around the world, significantly more men than women serve in militaries, and most countries do not draft women to serve. De Silver, 2019. In the United States, women first served in military combat roles in 2015, and in 2020 a bipartisan commission recommended that women be required to register for a military draft. Welda, 2020. Page 105. Thinking about the roles of women in the military around the world prompts us to consider the questions we explore in this chapter. How much does biology shape who we are? How are we influenced by culture? And how do the influences of biology and culture combine to create similarities and differences among men and women? How are we influenced? Influenced by biology. Describe how the biological perspective explains human behavior, including gender differences. In many important ways, people from different cultures and of different genders are more alike than different. As members of one great family with common ancestors, we share not only a common biology but also common behavioral tendencies. Everyone sleeps and wakes, feels hunger and thirst, and develops language through identical mechanisms. Everywhere, humans prefer sweet tastes to sour and fear snakes more than sparrows. People across the globe all understand each other. A euro trademark S frowns and smiles. Humans are intensely social. We join groups, conform, and recognize distinctions of social status. We return favors, punish offenses, and grieve a loved Oni Euro trademark S death. As children, beginning at about 8 months of age, we display fear of strangers, and as adults, we favor members of our own groups. Confronted by those with dissimilar attitudes or attributes, we react warily or negatively. Anthropologist Donald Brown, 1991-2000, identified several hundred universal behavior and language patterns. To sample among just those beginning with A euro, all human societies have verbs, violence, visiting, and dowels. Even much of our morality is common across cultures and eras. Before they can walk, babies will display a moral sense by disapproving of what a Euro trademark is wrong or naughty. Bloom, 2010. People old and young, female and male, whether living in Tokyo, Tehran, or Toledo, all say a euro. Eno Euro when asked, a euro or if illegal gas is leaking into a vent and is headed toward a room with 7 people, is it okay to push someone into the vent? A euro preventing the gas from reaching the 7 but killing the 1. A euro and they are more likely to say a euro. Is a euro when asked if a euro trademark is okay to allow someone to fall into the vent, voluntarily sacrificing 1 life but saving 7. Hauser, 2006, 2009. You could drop in anywhere and find humans conversing and arguing, laughing and crying, feasting and dancing, singing and worshiping. Everywhere, humans prefer living with others. A euro in families and communal groups. A euro to living alone. Everywhere, the family dramas that entertain us. A euro from Greek tragedies to Chinese fiction to Mexican soap operas. A euro portray similar plots. Dutton, 2006. Similar, too, are adventure stories in which strong and courageous men, supported by wise old people, overcome evil to the delight of beautiful women or threatened children. Such commonalities define our shared human nature. Although differences draw our attention, we Euro trademark more alike than different. We Euro trademark all kin beneath the skin. Genes, Evolution, and Behavior, page 106. The universal behaviors that define human nature arise from our biological similarity. Someone may say, a euro emi ancestors came from Ireland. A euro or a euro emi roots are in China. A euro or a euro OEI. A euro trademark and Italian. A euro, but if we trace our ancestors back 100,000 or more years, we are all Africans. Shipman, 2003. In response to climate change and the availability of food, early hominids migrated across Africa into Asia, Europe, the Australian subcontinent, and, eventually, the Americas. As they adapted to their new environments, early humans developed differences that, measured on anthropological scales, are recent and superficial. Those who stayed in Africa had darker skin pigment. A euro, what Harvard psychologist Steven Pinker, 2002, called a euro as sunscreen for the tropics. A euro, and those who went far north of the equator evolved lighter skins capable of synthesizing vitamin D in less direct sunlight. We were all Africans recently. Enough that a euro or there has not been much time to accumulate many new versions of the genes. A euro, noted Pinker, 2002. P. 143. Indeed, biologists who study our genes have found that we humans, a euro, even humans from very different cultures, a euro, are strikingly similar, like members of one tribe. To explain the traits of our species, and all species, the British naturalist Charles Darwin, 1859, proposed an evolutionary process. Follow the genes, he advised. Darwin, a euro trademark S idea, to which philosopher Daniel Dennett, 2005, would give a euro or F gold medal for the best idea anybody ever had. A euro was that natural selection enables evolution. Natural selection, the evolutionary process by which heritable traits, that best enable organisms to survive and reproduce in particular environments are passed to ensuing generations. The idea, simplified, is this: organisms have many and varied offspring. Those offspring compete for survival in their environment. Certain biological and behavioral variations increase their chances of survival and reproduction in that environment. Those offspring that do survive and reproduce are more likely to pass their genes to ensuing generations. Thus, over time, population characteristics may change. Natural selection implies that certain genes, those producing traits that increase the odds of surviving long enough to reproduce and nurture descendants, became more abundant. In the snowy Arctic environment, for example, genes programming a thick coat of camouflaging white fur have won the genetic competition among bears. Where thick, dark forest is instead the norm, brown and black bears have instead won out. Natural selection, long an organizing principle of biology, is an important principle for psychology as well. Evolutionary psychology studies how natural selection also predisposes psychological traits and social behaviors that enhance the preservation and spread of only trademark S genes. Buss and Schmidt, 2019. Humans are the way we are, say evolutionary psychologists, because nature selected those who had advantageous traits, those who, for example, preferred the sweet taste of nutritious, energy-providing foods and who dislike the bitter or sour flavors of toxic foods. Those lacking such preferences were less likely to survive to contribute their genes to posterity. Evolutionary psychology, the study of the evolution of cognition and behavior using principles of natural selection. Evolutionary psychology argues that modern human brains are a product of what helped our hunter-gatherer ancestors survive. Getty Images as mobile gene machines, we carry not only the physical legacy but also the psychological legacy of our ancestors. Trademark adaptive preferences.